and welcome to Champion Reviews. I'm Joe, here with me is my co-host Dan.
Hello and greetings.
Today's episode is pretty good.
Yeah.
So-so. It starts off with Black Cat fumbling up and, getting knocked out by, essentially a missile to the wall next to her. She ends up bungling up and getting captured by Smythe, who's come back to work for, Silvermane, who's now in diapers. And meanwhile, Scorpion is trying to go clean, whilst also keeping the scientific genius Adrian Toomes chained up in his room or apartment. But Toomes keeps taunting him and, verbally abusing him, which Scorpion's been enduring this for months. Kudos to him for his patience. That's a new virtue of his.
Scorpion may not be too bright.
No. But at least he's got some priorities now. He's now found himself a girlfriend, Sarah, who's trying to take care of him, has saved up money to help with the experiments. $500 though. She's not the brightest, but she's got a kind heart. Throughout the episode, she shines as someone who just wants to mediate between these violent psychos who are just determined to kill each other. Which, Scorpion, she's such a good person that Scorpion himself is wanting to redeem himself. He wants to go back to normal and do things the right way. He's starting to take responsibility. I'd argue this Scorpion's probably redeemable at this point.
Yeah.
But the problem is, Spider-Man decides to take more from, take after Black Cat here rather than Madam Web's example, for example, and chooses to do things the wrong way. Mm-hmm. Now, he does lure Scorpion out because he needs him, because Smythe has said, you have 24 hours, get me either Scorpion or Vulture, otherwise I kill Black Cat. So, of course, he has to cooperate. And Spider-Man chooses to lure out Scorpion with the promise of neogenics once again. Now, Scorpion goes to rob a bank to help fund a lab, but in the fight, he loses the money and gets distracted by Sarah, and then proceeds to tumble down into unconsciousness after, weakening the roof of a building. He's not very bright.
No.
That said, Peter perhaps should have tried appealing to his better nature to an extent, seeing that, Scorpion now has a girlfriend. But Peter is not thinking at this point. One has to bear in mind the loss of MJ still weighing on him psychologically.
And he doesn't want another girl to be lost on his watch.
Now, he brings Scorpion to the lab, gets tricked into a trap by Smythe, only to be imprisoned as well. Then he's put in a device that imitates Adrian Toomes' technology of reversing the aging process of the human body. The problem is he thinks that he can also gain the spider powers. The trouble is not even Vulture got those abilities until Connors messed with him by giving him the negatives of the X gene, which is the man spider part. Now, the thing is, Spider-Man's very DNA is now spider to an extent. He's got all the positives of his X gene. He has the spider genetics all wrapped in there with his, DNA. He's a mix between a mutate and a mutant. He's both, really.
Yeah.
But the problem is, you can't just transfer that to someone else. Not even the Recombinator seems able to do that. So, how do I put it? Silvermane's not getting that. Mm-hmm. Now, I think Smythe lured him over with, I could do that for you. But Smythe has no idea how to do it. And his response is, my boss doesn't need to know that till later. Now, Smythe did, however, underestimate one possibility. He did not know Vulture would come in, and he doesn't seem to think much of him initially. Now, Scorpion's imprisoned, and Spider-Man's about to be drained. Who comes to the rescue but the Vulture? Vulture comes in, disrupts everything, and manages to inadvertently block one of Smythe's blasters into hitting one of the manacles on Spider-Man, who's trapped until then. who then proceeds to slip himself free immediately over to the computer to start using it to free Scorpion and Black Cat, thinking to use the chaos that Scorpion would cause alongside the Vulture chaos into basically trying to free everyone. Now, the problem is Sarah comes running into the building because, well, she's worried about Scorpion. She's impulsive and doesn't think. I'm just saying. But that said, she gets points for just being such a nice person and having such a good voice actress. Now, Vulture humorously decides, well, I'm done with this reverse bouncing between two different ages. Straps himself to the machine with Silvermane and says, well, if you don't want to be a baby anymore, I don't mind reliving my whole life here over again and doing it differently. So, screw this.
Screw this.
And the machine then transfers all the old age over to Silvermane and the youth perfectly to, well, Vulture. Because Vulture's also using the wrist tech on his gauntlets. He still has that. I think that he used that in coordination with the machine, and in order to perfectly round out his age to about probably 25 or 30. At which point he says, "Toodles, thanks for the free fish," and he gets the heck out of Dodge. Now, on the other hand, Silvermane's older than he used to be, humorously. Now he needs a diaper again. Ew, but the thing is, he deserves it. Like you keep saying, Dan, he could have just relived his, he had his youth.
He was impatient.
He just wanted to be at the perfect age. Well,
and he just wanted to do it to Spider-Man. It shows a petty vendetta. I mean,
and agreed because he wanted Spider-Man's powers.
I mean, it's like he could have taken any Joe Schmo off the street. He could have taken. There's a lot of superheroes out there. I mean,
like Black Cat's right there. He could have drained the super soldier serum from her as well as the youth. But he's not that smart. Alicia Silvermane's just there getting his work done for him. She's way more competent, but she didn't think things through either. Smythe was just doing his job. Now, that said, the heroes are trapped in the Big Baby Factory, which is the building that Smythe owns that he painted over that. I just think he was cracking a joke. It's at Silvermane's expense.
It's a sense of humor,
which seems to now be a little similar to Spidey's. Now that said, Spidey ends up pretty much manipulating Scorpion alongside Black Cat into getting the wall, the door, melted down with acid, and him and Black Cat then wastes time flirting with him a little, and Spider-Man kind of wastes a bit of time, while Scorpion, having his mind on the job, says, "Out of the way, there's a civilian." Well, he doesn't say there's a civilian, but he reminds them there's a civilian as he barrels out like a bat out of hell with Sarah in his arms, proving himself a hero in this episode, in that moment.
It's like he wasn't innocent in all of this.
Now, he did do something. He did rob a bank. He did try to hurt people. I'm just saying, he did try to kill people. That's wrong. But at the end, he ends up saving the innocent person. In that scene, it's kind of like, okay, are Black Cat and Spider-Man really acting like the hero here?
It would have been the perfect time to make Scorpion, it's like, conclude his story arc,
and and possibly even Mr. Freeze him and just have him become heroic. Like, I'm just saying, the Batman animated series had its terrible moments, and it had its good ones. But after Sub-Zero movie, Mr. Freeze should have been a superhero in the DC animated universe, rather than a villain. But because, how do I put it? Because there are numbnuts involved who don't like character arcs and journeys and redemption stories, that archetypal redemption story, they didn't do that. Now, that's with the DC universe there. There are no redemption arcs in the DC universe. Animated universe, I mean. There are none. Which is why I don't really care for that. Universe in that way. Now, the Spider-Man animated universe has several redemption arcs. I just think maybe offer one to Scorpion and bring in Scorpina from the comics in to replace Scorpion as the main female, well, not female, but as the main Scorpion type villain. Because you could have redeemed Scorpion here.
Yeah.
Now, that said, using him as a villain still does work to an extent. But I'm just saying, maybe a redemption arc could have been there. I don't think they should have offered one to Eddie Brock. Keep him as scum. But Matt Gargan probably could have gotten a heroic turnaround. That said, I still don't mind him as Sinister Six member. Now, some characters like Doc Ock should never be redeemed. You look at, who else is there? Toombs? Yeah, he's a psycho. You've got, who else? Hobgoblin?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's evil. Mysterio gets a redemption arc in the animated series, and it's actually a really good one.
Yeah, it's like, I like the fact that this series does close up a few story arcs.
Yeah, unlike the DC animated universe. Sorry, I'm going to keep railing on it.
It's like Batman, the animated series.
And I know people are going to get annoyed here, but guys, like, this is something that the Spider-Man animated series did do better in that regard. Closing out, storylines here on the way out. The Batman animated series left every plot point hanging, as did the Superman one. Yes, it was building up to the Justice League animated series, but the Justice League animated series left plots hanging. This is not good storytelling. You need a beginning, middle, and end. Spider-Man had that. Every season, and for all 5. Now, this episode, though, is really interesting in just the character interactions. It is so character-driven. Scorpion's trying to clean himself up. Toombs doesn't want him to. Toombs is acting like the devil on his left shoulder. You've got Smythe, who's starting to dirty his hands a little in his desperation to revive his dead father. Yeah, don't even try, Smythe. You have Silvermane doing his usual thing. And you have Spider-Man just trying to help Black Cat, but he kind of misses out on a chance to do the right thing at the end of the episode and offer Scorpion a second chance and a semi-apology. Now, he did take responsibility for Scorpion when he said, I got him into this mess. I have to help him and protect him. That's typical Peter. But I do think maybe there would have been a good storyline there had he offered Scorpion a second chance. And this could have helped further build up a Spider-Man super team. Yeah, like they were building up to later in the series.
It's like this episode could have had a part 2 where it focuses on Scorpion cleaning himself up a little more.
Yes, and then you could then use an episode after that to introduce Scorpion as a villainess.
Yeah.
As someone who's irredeemable.
Yeah, it's like bring in some of those Howard Mackie villains.
Yeah, because they were great. But this episode overall, let's rate it. I would say overall it is a 2. It's a solid episode. It's mediocre to an extent for this series, but it's still a really good, fun episode. And I rolled my eyes once or twice at Black Cat, but that's par for the course. On the other hand, I do like some of her moments. She does get some great moments, and she has proven herself in this episode and in the last one a competent heroine. Now, in this episode, they return to Spider-Man doing the detective work and doing the work. And where the past 2 episodes forgot he was supposed to be the lead, this one remembers it. But it also gives Black Cat the role, a decent enough role. Now, she's briefly a damsel, but then she has to help save Spider-Man alongside Scorpion. So, Spider-Man's lesson to her was sometimes you do have to cooperate with a villain to do a greater good. But she quickly wraps her head around it and teams up with Scorpion to help Spider-Man. Now, when they can't cooperate with Scorpion anymore, they use him as best they could to get everyone out. But the thing is, she incorporated the lesson real quick. And it was perfectly in character for her. And at least for the Black Cat personality. To realize, oh yeah, he has a point. Now, like I said, I think that every character's on point. I really like Black Cat in this episode. I like Smythe. I would have liked him to be a little more redeemed, but that said, him going to work for Silvermane does make some sense. He has some vengeance issues with Fisk to work out. And you have Scorpion, who's trying to clean up. That's great. Actually, here's the thing. I actually approve of Smythe returning to villainy to an extent. It does fit. Whereas with Scorpion, now I really like redemption arcs, but I think that maybe Scorpion should have gotten one, and Smythe should continue to fall a little before he eventually cleans himself up. but that this could be the backdoor for introducing more villains who are irredeemable. Look at Carnage. He's irredeemable. I don't want him ever redeemed. And, like, you could use another Venom villain if you want. Like, get the Venom symbiote back into the series. You've got Scorpina they could have used. You've got Lady Octopus, maybe eventually introduce her. Like, she's a way better villain than Doc Ock.
Me, I'll actually rate this a 3. For some odd reason, the Silvermane episodes I find them all enjoyable.
And not to mention, we have Black Cat, Spider-Man, Scorpion, all being great here.
You've got some very fascinating character moments, some good lore.
And you even have a semi-damsel who's actually pretty good at being kind of a super wife in Sarah. I just mean that had Scorpion gone clean, I will actually say this. She did some good detective work. For a girl who's not the brightest, I'm not trying to be sexist here. I'm just saying, guys, she's
very naive.
She's very naive. She's not the brightest, but she has good instincts. I think that her and Scorpion would make a killer PI combo. Because she can trail someone. She trailed Spider-Man without getting caught. No, that's impressive. She wasn't even noticed by Smythe or even Silvermane's mobsters. She slipped past all of them. She's really clever. Like, she's not the brightest, but she is clever.
Yeah.
And she was able to slip in without anyone noticing. I'm sorry, but she is crafty. Now, if she was to actually start, like, thinking a little more and thinking things through a little more, I think, she's going to be a badass, almost on MJ level. Not quite, but almost.
In previous episodes, often I didn't like Vulture episodes. But this one, I love Vulture, I love Scorpion, I love both Alicia and Silvermane.
Every character's on point here.
Yeah, it's like...
You can't almost do better.
So, we've got a 2 for you and a 3 for me.
So, tell us how you would rate this episode. What you think of this. And don't forget to like,
share, subscribe, because we're trying to get 1,000 subs. We're going to release a horror fantasy novel that we're writing.
Or at least the first chapter of it. Stay tuned.
And stick around.